Hello everyone, my name is Venkatesh Gaikwad and today I will be dealing with the topic of traditional and modernity in Indian society. So society as in itself defined by McIver and Page as the definition is given is regarding the concept of unity in diversity which defines our Indian society. So Indian society is basically different types of culture, class living together in a similar or an exact boundary without any problems is called as Indian society. We are a great diverse country with many classes, many religions, many sects, but yet we are living together peacefully, which is the exact core of our Indian society. What are the characters of a society? That point that I said itself is diversity. Many religions are there in our Indian society. They speak many different languages, they practice different cultures, yet we still live in unity with cooperation. Despite having different cultures, we are still living together. Our Indian society is very dynamic in nature because many different types of people are living together. Next is a differentiate table between traditional Indian society and modern Indian society. So what is the core essential practice of a traditional Indian society is in traditional Indian society there was strong kinship ties and a joint family system, whereas in modern era we are seeing that more nuclear families are there and less joint families are there. Next is being primarily homemakers, limited educational qualifications and employment opportunities. So in traditional Indian societies what happened was there was less opportunities for education, less education which led to educational opportunities and employment opportunities being declined. But in modern society there is a proper improvement and increase in education which is also increasing in employment and overall independence. Next, previously there was caste based occupation, then agriculture dominance was there, but now we are expanding in the field of employment and many occupations are there. Next, in traditional society proper caste based hierarchy was there and there was no social mobility, but in modern Indian society such caste based discrimination or caste based mobility does not exist in our modern society like it is today. Next, again personal laws is there, marriage laws is there, divorce law is there, adoption law is there. So in traditional Indian society there was very strict structure for the same, but whereas in modern Indian society there is a flexibility regarding these marriage institutional laws. Next, there is a collective respect for tradition and conformity, that is social conformity is there, but whereas in modern Indian society I don't say that we don't respect the tradition, but as traditional Indian societies followed the core traditional practices, in modern Indian society we don't actually follow the core traditional practices, we follow the tradition itself, we practice the tradition itself but not follow the core and essential practices of a traditional Indian society is due to this change in traditional to modern. Because of this transition many changes are happening from traditional to modern Indian societies. Next, if we talk about medicine in particular aspect, is reliance on Ayurvedic and traditional medicines was there more in traditional Indian societies, whereas in modern Indian societies there was an increase of modern medicine through traditional practices remain. So increase in modern medicine, that is allopathy is there is a use of various different chemicals etc. in modern Indian society, whereas in traditional Indian societies Ayurvedic system was followed. Next, what is a caste and a class? There is a very different meanings of caste and a class in sociological aspect. In sociology, caste itself defines the ancient social system which is unique to India. So as we know from the basic structure of history, in history it is given that India is based on a Varna system, and Varna system basically divided into 4 core parts, that is Brahmins who were the priests, next Kshatriyas who were the warriors, third Vaishyas who were the merchants, and Shudras who were the laborers. Shudras in this particular regard in Indian society priorly called as Dalits, who are untouchables and excluded from our society. Now in modern society such classification of caste is not there at all, rather there are many different classifications, but previously this was a traditional type of classification, that is Varna system was there. It was legally abolished and then again many different changes, social change has happened which implemented the caste system in a total different manner in our modern era, whereas in traditional era Varna system was there. Class. What is a class exactly? It is a modern socio-economic division based on wealth. So we studied about social stratification very early. social stratification itself is defining as class. What is the class of that individual? What he earns determines his class in the society. That is, factors such as wealth, occupation and education which are determining and defines your class rather than birth. Doesn't matter where you take birth from, if you become rich in your life, that is your class, that is your rich class. If certain middle class is there, then again person who does not been able to meet his expectations through his money or income will be termed as poor class. So why don't we say poor caste, but we say poor class? So there is a clear distinction between caste and class itself. Then class is dynamic, and in India itself, classes range from lower working classes to higher and rich, and in between comes the middle class, who are neither rich nor poor, and suffers the most is the middle class itself. Then relationship between caste and class. So while caste traditionally determines the occupation and class, and economic development has allowed for upward mobility, making class more significant in urban areas. So caste system exists now, also it exists, but more in rural areas, and class system, that is division of people on the basis of their income or education, is existed only mostly in urban areas, whereas in rural areas caste system is more evident to be seen. Next, India as a plural society. So definition of a plural society is a diversity is there. India is unity in diversity. India defines unity in diversity. All people from different language, religion, ethnicity belong to India because of its diverse culture and pluralistic society. Pluralistic means many different classes are living together, which is the reason why it is called as plural society, not a singular society. Next is cultural diversity. The word itself defines we have more than 22 official languages and hundreds of dialects which are spoken. Then many religious groups such as Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Buddhists and many more. And despite this, India is a home to rich cultural mosaic, which means that despite having so much diversity, we are yet united together. Then again, religious tolerance and coexistence. So in a plural society like India, despite having diversity, everyone tends to protect and preserve their own culture, preserve their own values, preserve their own customs and promote them to future generations. Then again comes the last point, that is challenges to pluralism. Despite we are a pluralist country, pluralist democracy, there are a lot of challenges that India face. First being issues like caste-based discriminations. We see in India that discrimination is most often seen in a diverse country where there are many religions, because discrimination is a concept which is introduced from the caste itself. Because in caste system we saw that highest caste was Brahmins, whereas lowest caste was Shudra. This is the origin of the discrimination itself. Even in today itself, on educational basis, on employment basis, on many basis, caste based discrimination is seen, class based discrimination is seen. It is everywhere. You cannot escape discrimination. Everywhere you go there is certain discrimination, even at the smallest levels. Next is religious extremism. So again, certain practices in a democracy, certain practices in a country or in a particular religion tend to go a bit extreme in nature, which is not at par or equivalent with the laws in that country. Suppose certain community is doing certain act which clearly violates someone's fundamental rights, or it does something act which is not on ethical basis, a moral in nature, then that act or that particular thing which violates the fundamental rights will be a challenge to the pluralist economy that we are talking about in case of India. Then again, last point of religious conflicts based on pluralistic ideals which require a strong legal framework. As of now, we don't have any such strong legal framework that if two communities fight for a certain issue, then the courts will interfere and solve that issue. We don't have that type of secular governance in our country right now. Then unity, diversity, and this is the entire thing that I have been talking about since the past few minutes. That is, India is based on one and only concept, is unity in diversity. Unity is fostered through shared values, though history, we share common history, we share a common dialect, common democracy, common struggles due to which we have developed this sense of unity. And diversity, again the same point, many different cultures, many different languages, religions, and yet we stay together, which shows that India is a unity in diversity. Then again, social organization and social disorganization. So social organization refers to a stable arrangement of institutions and relationships in society like family, education and governments. So social organization is a situation on based where many social institutions often come together and work in a similar manner, which is called as social organizations. Then its opposite is called as social disorganizations, when there is a breakdown or a dysfunction of these societal norms and institutions leading to instability and losses of control over an individual's behavior. It is called as social disorganizations, social disorganization. Examples for social disorganizations is if certain crime is committed, certain divorce is there. Let's take an example of divorce or family breakdowns due to conflict, corruption, rising mental health issues. These are examples of social disorganizations. And again, education, political institutions, functioning of political institutions, proper functioning of our legal system is an example of social organizations. So lastly, what causes social disorganizations is again rapid urbanizations. We tend to see that in 21st century many people tend to shift from rural areas to urban areas, and this tends to flooding in urban areas, which is the reason why there is a lack of social structures existing in our India right now. And next point is economic inequality. Again, we all hear that 20% of people hold 80% of wealth and 80% of people hold 20% of wealth, which is because there is an economic inequality, because rich people have all of the land over the country and poor people don't, and they don't give lands to poor people, which is the reason why there is economic inequality. Next point, corruption. We all talk about corruption, loss of public trust and weakening of law and order system. We take recent examples, what is happening in our society, all of those cases because of political corruption in our society. Next, cultural conflicts. So again, culture conflict with each other, certain practices of one culture violate the practices of other culture, then again there is a back and forth clash between them, and again no remedies provided for the same if one culture fights with another culture and there is no remedy, which is the reason why it causes social disorganization. And last point is technological advances, as new technologies are coming which disrupt social traditional occupations, lifestyles and values, which leads to a sense of disorientation among communities. And with this I have shortly summarized tradition and modernity in Indian society. Thank you.